Welcome everyone. In this video, I will explain the kinds of genre you will come across when playing the video game Dead Space. I will tell you in detail why it's categorized a certain way and how it's being displayed, as well as the general definition of these genres and descriptions. Now then, the genres. What is a genre though? A genre is a particular type of literature, painting, music, film or other art form which people consider as a class because it has special characteristics. In English, it was butchered to sound like genre, but it originated from the French word genre, which means a kind or a sort of. Game genres are what we give to different games in order to group them together. Games with the same mechanics and the same styles of gameplay would be put into one genre. It is mostly to categorize them for the consumer to know what they like. There are three main genres that sum up Dead Space: action-adventure, survival horror, and third-person shooter. An action-adventure game can be defined as a game with a mix of elements from an action game and an adventure game, especially crucial elements like puzzles. Action-adventure require many of the same physical skills as action games, but also offer a storyline, numerous characters, an inventory system, dialogue, and other features of adventure games. Some other examples of action-adventure games include The Legend of Zelda and Tomb Raider. Since ammunition is scarce in this game, managing your inventory and making use of different devices is crucial to progress through the story and brings me to the next genre. Survival horror is a subgenre of action-adventure video games that emphasizes vulnerability, resource management, and puzzle solving in a horror-themed environment. Games in the genre often have a Metroidvania style of progression and also make use of horror tropes common to cinema, such as fixed cameras. The survival aspect here is self-explanatory. Stay alive while making it through the main story. Easier said than done. The player is made to feel less in control than in typical action games through limited ammunition, weapons, health, speed, and vision. Not to mention the scary aspects, which lead you to looking away from the screen and then dying. How does this game implement horror? The just mentioned survival elements contribute to the horror aspects as it limits your power to defeat your enemies. Imagine having unlimited ammo in your weapon. Knowing that they won't be able to do you any harm is not horrific at all. So the game forces you to manage your equipment as best as possible and keeps you on your toes. Lighting is generally the best way to make the audience feel uneasy, with the absence of light. People are scared of the unknown, and because it's hard to see in the dark, people are afraid of it. Through careful control of both the light and the dark, an atmosphere of horror can be created, and in some cases just an out-and-out feeling of terror. The next big horror aspect are the monsters. They are unpleasant to look at, to say the least. Besides looking horribly deformed, they come sprinting at you with deadly limb morphications to slice open your comfy spacesuit. Taking them out in a bloody and gory fashion is part of the core mechanic. Blood and gore, or also called splatter, is often found in horror scenarios, easily recognized by its use of extreme violence and disturbing imagery. In 2020, a Finnish study concluded that horror films can activate neural pathways in a way that little else that is predictable can, offering a taste of the genuine fear experience. Pupils dilate and heart rate and blood pressure increase. These kinds of images disgust you, but you can't look away either. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Third-person shooter is a game focused on shooting, where instead of seeing through the main character's eyes, you see the main character from an external perspective. Generally, this means you are peering over the player character's shoulder. Wondering what the third person is? The third-person point of view belongs to the person being talked about. He, she, it, they, or them. Some games even let you switch the camera perspective from the first-person point of view to the third person, with just the push of a button, like in GTA or Skyrim. The shooting aspect comes from the core gameplay mechanic, which is shooting with different weapons to take out the enemies. Core mechanics are something you do 80% of the time in a game. So in conclusion, Dead Space is an action game because of its combat elements, an adventure game for its exploring and puzzle-solving areas, a survival game for its limitation of resources and equipment available to the player, a horror game, the way it's lit, the enemies look like, and the presentation of violence and blood, a third-person game for the camera placement and narrative, and a shooter for its core gameplay mechanics. Thank you very much.